Academic Book 1, Final Chapter 24. In spite of all the training I have received, all the lessons notes on Strigoi habits and how to defend against them, I could never ever actually seen one. It was scarier than I could expected. This time, when she swung at me again, I was ready, sort of. I dove back, slipping out of reach, wondering what chance I had. I remembered Driven's joke about the mall. No silver stake, nothing to cut her head off with, no way to set her on fire. Running seems to like the best option after all, but she was blocking my way. Feeling useless, simply backed down the hall. As she moved, advanced on me, her movements far more graceful than they could ever been in life. Then, all faster than she could ever moved in life, she leapt out, grabbed me, and slammed my head against the wall. Pain exploded in my skull, and I felt pretty sure that was blood I tasted in the back of my mouth. Frantically, I fought against her, trying to mount some kind of defense, but it was like fighting Dremet on crack. My dear, murmured Victor, try not to kill her. If you don't have to, we might be able to use her later. Natalie paused in her attack, giving me a moment to back up, but she never took her cold eyes off me. I will try not to. There was a skeptical tone in her voice. Get out of here now. I will meet you there when I'm done. I cannot believe you. I yelled after him. You got your own daughter to turn Strigoi? A last resort, a necessary sacrifice made for the greatest good. Natalie understands. He left. Do you? I hoped I could stall her with talking just like in the movies. I also hoped my question could hide how utterly and completely terrified I was. Do you understand? God, Natalie, you turned just because he told you to? My father is a great man, she replied. He is going to save the Morai from the Strigoi. Are you incensed? I cried. I was backing up again and suddenly hit the wall. My nails dug into it as though I could dig my way through. You are a Strigoi, she stuttered, almost seeing like the old Natalie. I had to do it to get him out of here before the others came. One Strigoi to save all the Morai. It's worth it. Worth giving up the sun and the magic. But you will want to kill Morai. You won't be able to help it. He will help me stay in control. If not, then they will have to kill me. She reached out and grabbed my shoulders, and I shuddered at how casually she talked about her own death. It was almost as casual as the way she was no doubt contempting my death. You're incensed. You cannot love him that much. You cannot really. She threw me into the wall again, and as my body collapsed in the heap of the floor, I had a feeling I could not getting up this time. Victor had told her not to kill me, but there was a look in her eyes. A look said she wanted to. She wanted to feed off me. The hunger was there. It was the Strigoi way. I should not have talked to her, I realized. I could have stated, just as Drummond had warned, and then suddenly he was there, charging down the hallway like a death in a cowboy duster. Natalie spun around. She was fast, so fast, but Drummond was fast too, and avoided her attack, a look of pure power and strength on his face. With an air fascinating, I watched them move, circling each other like partners in a deadly dance. She was stronger than him, clearly, but she was also a fresh Strigoi. Gaining superpowers does not mean you know how to use them. Dremet, however, know how to use the ones he had. After both giving and receiving some vicious hits, he made his move. The silver stack flashed in his eyes like a streak of lightning. Then it snagged forward into her heart. He yanked it out and stepped back, his face impulsive as she screamed and fell to the floor. After a few horrible moments, she stopped moving. Just as quickly, he was leaning over me, slipping his arms under my body. He stood up, carrying me like he had when I hurt my ankle. Hey, Commander, I murmured, my own voice sounding sleepy. You are right about Strigoi. The world started to darken, and my eyelids dropped. Rose, Rosa, open your eyes. I could never hear this voice so strained, so frantic. Don't go to sleep on me. Not yet. I squinted up at him as he carried me out of the building, practically running towards the clinic. Was he right? Who? Victor, he said. It could not have worked, the necklace. I started to drift off, lost in the blackness of my mind, but Dremet prompted me back to the consciousness. What do you mean, the spell? Victor said you had to want me, to care about me, for it to work. When he don't say anything, I tried to grip his shirt, but my fingers were too weak. Did you? Did you want me? His words came out thickly. Yes, Rosa, I did want you. I still do. I wish we could be together. Then why did you lie to me? We reached the clinic and he managed to open the door while still holding me. As soon as he stepped inside, he began yelling for help. Why do you lie? I murmured, still holding me in his arms. He looked down at me. I could hear voices and footsteps getting closer. Because we cannot be together. Because of the age thing, right? I asked. Because you're my mentor? His fingertips gently wiped away a tear that had escaped my own cheek. That is part of it, he said, but also, well, you and I will both be Lisa's guardians someday. I need to protect her at all cost. If a pack of strigoi come, I need to throw my body between them and her. I know that, of course, that is what you have to do. The black sparks were dancing in front of my eyes again. I was fading out. No, if I let myself love you, I won't throw myself in front of her. I will throw myself in front of you. The medical team arrived and took me out of his arms, and that was how, 2 days after being discarded, I ended up back in the clinic. My third time in the 2 months. We could be back in the academic. I could have to be some kind of record. I definitely had a consciousness and probably internal bleeding, but we never really found out. When your best friend is a kick-ass healer, you sort of don't have to worry about those things. I still had to stay there for a couple of days, but Lisa and Christian, her new sidekick, almost never left my side when they were not in class. Through them, I learned bits and pieces about the outside world. Drummond had realized there was a strigoi on the campus. When they could find Natalie's victim body and drained of blood, Mr. Nagy, of all people, a surprising choice, but since he was older, he could be able to put up less of a fight. No more salary caught of us for us. The guardians in the detention center had been injured but not killed. She could simply slam them around as she had me. Victor had been found and recaptured while trying to escape campus. I was glad, even though it meant Natalie's sacrifice had been for nothing. Rumors said that Victor had not seemed afraid at all. When the royal guards came and carried him away, he could simply smile the whole time like he had some secret they don't know about. In as much as it could, life returned to normal after that. Lisa did no more cutting. The doctor prescribed her something, an anti-depression or anti-anxiety drug. I could not remember which, that made her feel better. I could never really know anything about those kinds of pills. I thought they made people silly and happy, but it was a pill like any other, meant to fix something, and mostly it just kept her normal and feeling stable, which was good thing because she had some other issues to deal with. Like Andre, she could finally believe Christian's story and allowed herself to acknowledge that Andre might not have been the hero she could always believe him to be. It was hard on her, but she finally reached a peaceful decision, accepting that he could have had both good and bad sides like we all do. What he could have done to Mia saddened her, but it don't change the fact that he could be a good brother who loved her. Most importantly, it finally freed her from feeling like she could needed to be him to make her family proud. She could be herself, which was proved daily in her relationship with Christian. The school still could not get over that. She don't care. She laughed it off, ignoring the shocked looks and distance from the royals. She could date from a humiliated family. Not all of them felt that way though. Some who had gotten to know her during the brief social without actually liked her for her, no compulsion necessary. They liked her honesty and openness, preferring it to the games most royals played. A lot of royals ignored her, of course, and talked viciously about her behind her back. Most surprising of all, Mia, despite being utterly humiliated, managed to wiggle back into her good grace of a couple of these royals. It proved my point. She could not stay down for long. And in fact, I saw the first sign of her revenge looking again when I walked past her one day on the way to class. She stood with a few other people and spoke loudly, clearly wanting me to hear. Perfect match. Both of them are completely discouraged and rejected families. I clenched my teeth and kept walking, following her gaze to where Lisa and Christian stood. They were lost in their own world and formed a gorgeous picture. She, blonde and fair, and he, blue-eyed and black-haired. I could not help but stare too. Mia was right. Both of their families was disgraced. Titan had publicly denounced Lisa, and while no one blamed the Oziras for what had happened to Christian's parents, the rest of the royals' Morai families continued to keep their distance. But Mia had been right about the other parts too. In some ways, Lisa and Christian were perfect for each other. Maybe they were outcasts, but the drag Morai and Osiris had been among the most powerful Morai leaders, and in only a very short time, Lisa and Christian had started shaping one another in ways that could put them right up there with their ancestors. He was picking up some of her polish and social pose. She was leaning to stand up for her passions. The more I watched them, the more I could see an energy and confidence radiating around them. They were not going to stay down either. And I think that, along with Lisa's kindness, may have been what attracted people to her. Our social circle began to steadily grow. Manson Manson joined, of course, and made no secret of his interest in me. Lisa teased me a lot about that, and I don't yet know what to do with him. Part of me thought maybe it was time to give him a shot of a serious boyfriend, even though the rest of me yearned for Drimmit. For the most part, Drimmit treated me just like anyone could expect of a mentor. He was efficient, fond, strict, understanding. There was nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that could make anyone suspect what had passed between us, save for any occasional meetings of our eyes. And once I overcame my initial emotions reaction, I know he was technically right about us. Age was a problem. Age was a problem, yes, particularly while I was still a student at the academic. But the other things he mentioned, it had never entered my mind. It should have. Two guardians in a relationship could distract each other from the morai they were supposed to protect. We were not allowed it to happen. Could not risk her life for our own wants, otherwise, we could be no better than the Badia guardian who could run off. I told Rimmit once that my own feelings don't matter. She came first. I just hoped I could prove it. It is too bad about the healing, Lisa told me. Huh? He's, we sat in her room pretending to study, but my mind was off thinking about Drimmit. I could lecture her about keeping secrets, but I had not told her about him or about how close I could come to losing my virginity. For some reason, I could not bring myself to tell. She dropped the history book she could be holding, that I had to give up the healing and the compulsion. A frown crossed her face at the last part. The healing had been regarded as a wondrous gift in need of further study. The compulsion had met with the serious reminders from Kirova and Miss Crambach. I mean, I'm happy now. I should have gotten help a long time ago. You are right about that. I'm glad I'm on the meditation. But Victor was right too. I cannot use spirit anymore. I can still sense it though. I miss being able to touch it. I don't entirely know what to say. I liked her better like this. Losing the threat of the madness had made her whole again, confident and outgoing. But just like the Lisa, I could always no and laughed. Seeing her now, it was easy to believe that Victor had said about her being a leader. She reminded me of her parents and of Andre, who how they used to inspire devotion in those who know them. And that is another thing, she continued. He said I could not give it up. He was right. It hurts not having the magic. I want it so badly sometimes. I know, I said. I could feel the ache within her, the pills that dulled her magic, but not our bond. And I keep thinking about all the things I could do, all the peoples I could help. She looked regretfully. You have to help yourself first, I told her. I don't want you getting hurt again. I won't let you. I know, Christian says the same thing. She got the dopey smile she always did when she thought about him. If I could know what idiots being in love could make them, I might not have been so keen to get them back together. And I guess you guys are right. Better to want the magic and be sane than to have it and be lunatic. There is no middle ground. No, I agreed. Not with this. Then, out of nowhere, a thought smacked me in the head. There was a middle ground Natalie's words reminded me of. It is worth it. Worth giving up the sun and the magic. The magic. Miss Crab had not become Strigoi simply because she could have gone crazy. She could become Strigoi to stay sane. Become Strigoi, cut a person completely off from magic. In doing that, she could not use it. She could not feel it. She could not want it anymore. Staring at Lisa, I felt like a knot of worry coiled within me. What if she figured that out? Could she want to do it too? No, I quickly decided. Lisa could never do that. She was too strong a person, too moral, and so long as she stayed on the pills, her higher reasoning could keep her from doing something so drastic. Still, the whole concept pawned me to find out one last thing. The following morning, I went to the chapel and waited in one of the pews until the priest showed up. Hello, Rosemary, he said, clearly surprised. Can I help you with something? I stood up. I need to know more about Saint Valdemic. I read the book you gave me and a couple others. Best not to tell him about stealing the ones in the attic. But nobody told me he did. How he did? What happened? How did his life ended? Was he like martyred? The priest's bushy eyebrows rose. No, he died of old age. Peacefully. You're sure he don't become Strigoi or kill himself? No, of course not. Why could you think that? Well, he was holy and everything, but he was also kind of crazy, right? I read about it. I thought he might have, I don't know, given into that. His face was serious. It is true he fought demons instantly his whole life. It was struggle and he did not want to die sometimes, but he overcame it. He don't let it defeat him. I started in wonder. Valdemix could not have had pills and he clearly continued to use magic. How? How did he do that? Willpower, I guess. Well, he passed. And and Anna. Shadow kissed Anna, I murmured. His guardian. The princess nodded. She stayed with him. When he grew weak, she was the one who helped him up. She urged him to stay strong and to never give into his madness. I left the chapel in a daze. Anna had done it. Anna had let Valdemik walk the middle ground, helping him to work miracles in the world without meeting a horrible end. Miss Crab had not been as lucky. She had not had a bound guardian. She had not had done anyone to hold her up. Lisa did, smiling. I cut across the towards the comments. I felt better about life than I had been very long time. We could do this, Lisa and me. We could do it together. Just then I saw a dark figure out of my corner of my eyes. I scooped past me and landed on a nearby tree. I stopped walking. It was a raven, large and fiercely looking, with a shining black feathers. A moment later, I realized it was not just a raven, it was the raven, the one Lisa had healed. No other bird could land so close to a damp air. and no other bird could be looking at me in such an intelligent, familiar way. I could not believe he was still around. A chill ran down my spine, and I started to back up. Then the truth hit me. You are bound to her too, or not you? I asked, fully aware that anyone who saw me could think I was crazy. She brought you back. You're shadow kissed. That was actually pretty cool. I held out my arm to it, half hoping it could come land on me in some sort of dramatic, movie worthy gesture, and it did was look at me like I was an idiot, spread his wings and fly off. Fly off. I glared as it flew off into the twilight. Then it turned around and headed off to find Lisa. From far away, I heard the sound of crawling, almost like laughter. Well, the end of the first book in the Vampire Academic series.